All right, so we're here on a client quilt, and I totally forgot to press record. So I got a little tiny bit done, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm just doing a loop and then swinging it around like a feather and then coming back to itself, exiting that and coming around, back to itself, exiting and coming. They never always land because I'm not very good with stitching straight and landing in the same spot, but I do the best I can, which is what you should do as well. So I'm going to just start recording and keep you guys in regular speed so that you can see how this works. So I'm right here, I've came back onto myself, and now I'm going to exit, and I'm trying to fill in as many areas as possible while I'm doing this so that the quilting stays consistent and I don't have a ton of gaps. So here we go. So I'm going to fill in right here, creating a loop like a feather, and then I'm going to stop right here, and then I'm going to exit this one and bring another one up here behind it so that I could fill all this in, loop around, create a feather, stop on myself just like this, and then keep going. So sometimes I have to backtrack just a little bit so that I can get onto other areas. So like right here. So I came down just a little bit on myself. Throwing one right here. Throwing one right here. And I'm alternating directions as I go. I know in some spaces you won't see the quilting, but I'm just going to continue on now and not talk. So as you can see right here, I improvised coming out, putting something in this space because it wasn't big enough. So I just put a little guy right here and then came back through it and around and made a loop. And then I continue on. If you see right here, I changed direction a little bit so that that way it's not just going up and down, up and down. Every now and then I decide I want to change and just switch it up a little bit so that I'm filling in the areas, but it's not exactly, what's the word for it? I don't know the word, but it's not exactly the same throughout the whole row. So I just continue on, but I'm kind of change the way I make them turn as I'm going. So every now and then, like this, it's going the same direction as this one, but that's okay because I was changing my route as I go. And it's pretty much following like a meander all the way around, except I have my little feather plumes coming off of them. And some people were asking me, how do I choose what I'm going to quilt on a quilt? I will say that sometimes the quilt tells me what to quilt on it. So if you can see that there are little feather plume type paisley looking things on here, that told me that this quilt just needed an all over little feather plume. So, and it made it look, you'll see in the end that it makes it look super ornate and kind of looks super fancy. So instead of just meandering around, if you just add your little feather plume loops to them as you're meandering around, it definitely gives it a totally different look. So you can see, again, I don't know, you can't really tell, but I went up, around, looped, came back down, looped, and then come up and loop, and then filling my spot. So that way it's not completely uniform and it does not look like a computer did it. So I'll do it again right here. So I'll do it right here so that you can see. So I went up, down, around here, up to here, come to here, fill in this little spot, and then I make my way around again. So you can see right past there, I took it around, came in, and then on my way back through that one back where my finger is pointing, I came out it to make another plume. So that way it's not completely the same. And then I just kind of exit out in a kind of curved style. And then I'm going to tie it off and roll it up and start my next row. So this is what it looks like. I'm just going to stay up here in the areas that you can see. So it keeps it looking really ornate. Very easy to do. Again, if you don't land on, let's see, let's find one. If you don't land where you started, you know, it's no big deal because it all eventually works itself out. And I can't find one. Here's one right here. So you can see I didn't land on my starting line. I landed close, but because I'm still consistently staying with that same look. I am not a computer, I'm a human being, so it's never going to be perfect, but it's going to move around and flow beautifully. So let's get to advancing and starting the next row. Okay, so I have advanced the quilt, and now I'm in a space where I'm gonna be, every time I come up, I will have to fill in sections. Just like when I'm starting, I will come out of sections, so that way I still have quilting within every inch of this quilt. Well, not inch, but you know what I'm saying. So here we go. So I'm coming up to right here. I need to make sure that there's one right here, so that way there doesn't look like any gap right here. So it seems like I'm kind of close to my starting row, but what I'm going to do is just fan it out, and I could put one right here and then come off of it and come down. So like this. One right here, filling that space, and then I'm just backtracking. Of course, you can't see my thread right here, but I backtracked enough to where now all I have to do is come down. Oops, and I'm out of bobbins, so let me change that and I'll be right back. Okay, with a fresh bobbin, here we go. So you can see that I took it up into my previous row, so that way you won't know where one row started and one row stopped, because the quilting goes up into it in those blank areas. So right here, I don't know how you can tell, but there's a little gap, but I'm just gonna swing my stitching to come around and fill in that section right there, right here. And I curved it pretty curvy so that way it fills that section in up there, and I come down, and now the gap between here and here and here and here isn't that much. And you can see in this fabric, my most inspiration for this right here is that. Made sure to fill in that section right there. I know you can't see my stitching very well, but it'll come right there. And that whole section now has the same distance as the last. did it again. I made a loop up into this one and then came straight around and made another loop to come to this next one.